Hi Sanjeev, good morning. How are you doing? Great to catch up with you on a Sunday.
Good morning, Amit. Yeah, definitely. I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing well. You can see my background. Been spending a lot of time in building and curious as a place where uh, people can really come and solve problems and on the way learn about the nitty-gritties
Hmm.
of given job role. So you know that we have been trying to work for a lot of enterprise analytics companies, or we are trying to work with product companies so that when they're looking for talent, and everybody talks about talent in a there are very deep conversations about talent. That
Hmm.
talent is needed, and we need people. We have skills which are evolving so fast. I mean,
Hmm.
if I can take your career, you have a vast experience of working in a data and mainly as an analyst role, then engineer role, and got into data engineering, and then
Correct,
working across different domains.
correct.
Right? So, and the skills have been evolving so fast, and then suddenly GenAI comes in.
Yeah.
So I was so that is something which we have been trying to ensure that how do you can the organization can evolve, the content can evolve as fast as the skill is evolving. So for that, the entire platform, we build a lot of content,
Hmm.
and that content is aligned to a lot of real world problems.
Correct.
And where do we get some of these problems? One conversing with people like you who
Hmm.
have been there, done that, solved a lot of interesting problems. And one of my agenda of meeting was to kind of understand your background and how do you see this entire landscape evolving of a data engineer. I find it to be a very, I would say, abstract role actually,
Hmm.
because somebody says data scientist, it's very clear. Okay, maybe this guy will be building some
Correct.
model, machine learning, something will be doing. And when you
Hmm.
say suppose a business analyst or a data analyst, maybe this guy will be building a lot of dashboards or writing SQL.
Correct.
My question to you is, what does a data engineer do in this case?
Definitely. So I think, and thanks for this opportunity, and definitely like the evaluation of the technologies, rapidly growing. I mean, majorly in the last 10 or so years. Because one thing is technology, the other part is the startups boom as well. Because the way startups boom, it's again the necessities come into the picture that we have to build and integrate more and more new kind of niche kind of technologies. And one thing is startup, the other one is when it comes to data field, whether it's come to data analytics, science or engineering. Then again, the way the startups checking the opportunities, and the way they are reaching to customers, either it is quick commerce or fast luxury or these kind of things, the data is also growing day by day.
Hmm.
So, because earlier, before 10 or 15 year back, there is a small sort of data. There is no, I mean, very, few people or few industries are focusing on the data part. They are not aware about how data can, solve the problem, or data can bring more and more innovation in terms of, into their business. But now people aware about now there are lots of data, there are lots of huge data play around real time data, batch time data. So these kind of things come into the picture, and then it's come to the different role, the as
Hmm.
you the data science, analytics, and engineer. So in these role, data engineering is a very underrated role.
Hmm.
Because I mean, on one side it's a heavy sort of engineering, because definitely, as the name it's an engineering role. On the other side, the other folks only know about the reporting part or the analytics part. They don't, one thing you can say, they don't know about what is going in on the back end when the report is generated, or when some dashboard or these kind of is building. The other part is also, they are, as a business side, if you can think of, they don't care about how
Hmm.
how massaging either TBs or petabyte of data. I mean, at the end of the day, if the report is correct, then everything is correct. They don't care, like if
If
you
it
are,
adds to the business value, if it converts
correct,
to dollars, then
correct,
you are
correct.
relevant. So
Correct. Then only you are relevant, and that is why the picture comes in the picture. Data engineering is very underrated because how you are bringing the data from different sources, how you are collaborating all the sources into single place, either it is data warehouse or data lake, whatever the technology you are using, and then again transforming as per the business need and showcase these KPIs or data inside over the dashboard, then
hmm,
only give you the final results.
correct.
uh, and again, it is two-way communication that as a data engineer you have to build.
Hmm,
One is definitely at the source side. You have to, lots of communication. You have to do lots of communication with your, DevOps or the other engineering folks, because you are connecting with their system. And
hmm,
on the other side, you have a business, stakeholders where you are generating the reports or showing the data insights. So
hmm.
two-way communication you have to build up as a data engineering apart from your technical challenges.
Right. So
Yeah.
I would just take a pause here, and I was just reflecting on your LinkedIn profile. It's there in front of me. And I'm just trying to fit in a typical an engineer, somebody who's from an engineering background, right? So you passed out of HBTI, and then you entered. Say, I think you entered the software IT industry
Yeah.
at the very beginning. It's more than a decade ago,
Correct.
where the IT was actually was still very much dominant industry, which was there in the 90s and early 2000s. But now then, from a sort of a software engineer to a point where you were head of data engineering at BharatPe, and then finally you are in a, now a completely different domain, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
EV, from a fintech suddenly to an EV. I'm just trying to understand how would somebody put their hand around that? Okay, what are the skills required, and how's the evolution path? What have you seen evolving all these years, right?
Yeah, so definitely when I started my career in 2014, so I was started in working with MNC. So in MNC, you have a limited scope to connect with your leadership team.
Hmm.
It's very simple and very straight and forward. The task you are getting from your manager or lead, and then you are working on that particular code or something, solving that particular code, and then that's it. That is the how your job. It's a very less connect with your senior leader and also.
Hmm.
So when I left Ericent and then joined as a a software developer again. So I learned from my CTO that you have to solve problem every day.
Hmm.
So a guy like what I have started learning from after day by day or month by month. So as an engineer, you have to solve problem. So forget about anything like the tools and technology. First, you have to understand what problem is burning in the system. As an employee, you have to understand your business first and
Hmm.
check what is the problem that I can solve and what is the challenging problem,
Hmm.
which is painful for all of us, and then
Hmm.
start solving that particular problem.
Hmm. Hmm. And your
Yes.
nature of problem would also be evolving. So, for example, when you would be in a junior role, you might be doing a lot of code,
Correct,
may
correct.
not be understanding a lot. So, if
Understood.
I ask you that you have been part of different industries, right? How much was your, how much you had the need to know, I need to understand a domain a lot to build solutions, or were your problems more technical in
Yeah,
those?
so I think yeah, I think it's a very still this question is very debating kind of question, and every time there is a fight. There is a fight in between these kind of question, especially someone as a good engineer and someone as a sorry, someone as a running a startup. So these kind of these two questions are fighting around between everyone, because one thing is that you're solving problem for the business perspective, and one
Yeah.
thing is building implementing something for the sake of technologies.
Hmm.
So I think India involved in a such a way that every startup engineer is more or less solving something which is relevant to the business.
Hmm. True.
So that is, yeah, so that is how we learn from directly to the senior leadership, and this is how again a good journey when you are working with a startup, because in a startup when you are working with either CTO or CEO, then you have someone who can validate your solution.
Hmm.
You have someone who can validate your problem that you are planning to solve,
Hmm.
because they are the face of the business. They are solving the business problem. So
Correct.
every week or every next day, if you're thinking that let's solve this problem, or I'm thinking to implement this and that, before implementing, make a blueprint and talk to your CTO and talk to your CEO, validate these kind of the problem or the solution. And if it is validated, then it is fine, because
Hmm.
everyone on the same page, and let's solve it. Then you can define the tools and technology, and then
Hmm.
the sky is your.
Got it. So Sanjeev, if I take a little walk down the memory lane of your beginning and then the way you grew. So if you have to like call out some of those key problems or key moments where you either said, okay, yeah, this is really something interesting I have solved, or like this is something really I have solved. What would be some of those key points which you'd like to talk about?
So solving when I always think this is what I realized, especially in the BharatPe. Before BharatPe, I used to also solve multiple problems, but this is I personally feel in BharatPe, because the first solution, and I learned from different leaders as well. Recently, Dipender from the Zomato also talk about these very, I mean, frequent on the Instagram or in the talks as well. The major problem for the leader is hiring problem,
Hmm.
even in other industries as well, but especially when you're talking about tech or data, something sort of thing.
Hmm.
uh, the moment you hire a good engineer, a good hands-on engineer, the intent-wise engineer, you have solved your 75% problem then and there only.
Yes, very true. Very
Yeah,
true.
because the leader, the hiring is too difficult. Because hiring is not only that the engineer is good into engineer, the hiring is also, more forward into the intent of the engineer, the
Hmm.
intent of the problem solving nature, as I mentioned in the starting only, because the always intent is to solve the problem.
Hmm.
Uh, then only then you have to bring the other tools and technologies, which is the supporting. uh,
Hmm.
if we go back to the previous I mean, in the history, that the target is to win the war.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
target is to win the war, and then the other things are the supporting actor
Hmm.
for aiming to win the war. So that is how
Yeah.
the system is.
Yeah.
So 75% problem you have solved if you hire a good and best engineer in the system. Then the 25% is how you engage that particular, because you hired someone as a good in the field, then you have to make that person to be involved in the daily, motivate,
Yeah.
indulge in all the decision making, and make him feel, or him or her, make them feel that you are the person who's going to solve this problem. It's your responsibility. And once that person start taking the ownership and
Hmm.
responsibility, then your sort of the things are done. And then the only left work which I feel is the supporting.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just that by the time you have to support your team, support that particular engineer whenever the thing is required, and hence, like, it's a easy process in
Hmm.
between. Yeah.
So I wanted to take a little deep dive into the Bharatpe story. So I'm a strong believer of this thing that uh, if you are in the mid of a heat of any ongoing evolution, revolution, whatever you say, and
Correct.
the kind of challenges you face are very, very unique. And
Correct. Correct.
the learnings which you have, that is very, that would always be unique to you.
Correct.
So, and what were some of those challenges? I want to look into more into the technical challenges you were facing as a data engineer, as somebody, okay, I have done a lot of things, but I don't know how to go about this.
Correct. Correct.
Then how
So,
do you go about this? How did you solve it? Like, how was your team went up doing that? Would like to hear that.
Yeah, so the problem was a very interesting questions, I would say. So the problem was one thing that we have set up the whole in technical term, we have set up all the data pipelines, all the data warehouse tables are running fine. The real time streaming is fine. The batch streaming is fine. We have a app event close to 3 to 5 millions in an hour. So that is also everything is working fine. The story is before we become unicorn in the Bharatpe. Everything is running fine. The team is looking forward more so because the data engineering stuff is fine. The team is more looking to the new challenges in terms of data science things or some sort of recommendation and clustering sort of things.
Hmm.
Then all of sudden, I mean, the data is started spiking. The scale is so huge because we become the unicorn, and then the scale issues are hits to our system, and then all of sudden, in a couple of days only, our data pipeline are choked. Tables are getting more and more. The queries are which is running in lesser than minute. It's taking more than 5 minutes or 6 minutes. Then everything is like I mean you can imagine in a running system like
Yeah.
uh, maybe more than at that time 15 to 20 lakh merchants was active in a day. We have more than 2.5 crores of merchant at that time. So these kind of systems, if your data platform is stuck, and you can imagine no one is, no one is able to generate their report, no one able to
Right.
check their dashboard. So I think that was the challenge that we have faced, and everything is so choked for a couple of days and a week so as well. So this is how the challenge. Then we started the actual engineering because definitely,
Hmm.
as I mentioned, we have a good engineers luckily in the place. Then they started engineering in the real time data pipeline. We have started checking deep and down the logs of Kafka because we are running Kafka Connect over there. We have starting checking the logs. We got to know that their memory is set up is in at the lower size. We have increased the memory, and then we have increased the size of the schema registry in the Kafka. And then we have increased the size of Kafka rebalancing as well. On the data streaming side, we have done lots of tweaking at the Kafka side because the real time system is running with the help of Debezium. There is a tool called Debezium setup, CDC change data capture tool, where we are running Debezium and Kafka, and which is ingesting into the BigQuery data warehouse, where we are using at the target level. We have Google BigQuery. At the Google BigQuery, we have also started doing some sort of partitions are there, but we the team is started checking their cluster by key is correct or not, as per the query based or not. So these kind of tweaking, it took us a month to take all the again to all the data pipelines and data warehouses table and all these things. But after a month, we got to know that these are the that we have done. We have listed down all our learning, and then we got to know that these are the things that is required in the system if the system is scaled up, and if tomorrow it is scaled up to the next level, these are the steps that we have to done again. But
Hmm.
after that, solving that problem, the team motivation is to the next level because we have solved next level of problem because
Exactly.
real-time system also coming not only from Kafka, we are sending WhatsApp notifications as well.
Hmm.
That is so that team have builded a webhook API where we are getting the all WhatsApp notification going through the cloud function and then the BigQuery. So these there is no single pipeline. There is a multiple different pipelines which we have created a new tool altogether
Hmm.
are on at that time.
Amazing, amazing. And that's what, like I said, like when you are in that moment, and if you have the kind of problems you have solved, those are difficult to replicate. I mean,
Correct.
those test those applications to their limits, those test
Correct.
your engineers to their limits,
Correct.
right?
So production testing is definitely difficult to replicate because it's a real problem, and and that is why everyone asked to, have you worked on the scale system or not? Have you scaled your system or not? And that is why these scaling kind of questions rose every time when in the discussions or wherever you are.
Yeah, so that's an amazing story, and that's where when what comes into our mind is that in kind of solving all these problems, there would be maybe data problems, there might be quality problems, uh, and also you were in fintech, and
Correct.
fintech is a regulated sector, and there would be a lot of things on governance, privacy. So I think it
Correct.
was not just data engineering a lot, there would be a lot more
Correct.
than that. So can
Absolutely.
you touch upon some of those other areas which are not much talked about?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as an engineer, we have to, very upfront with the compliance when it comes to data, because one thing is definitely you are running in the system where every sort of data is, critical data, and it's a customer data. It's altogether it's a money. It's one is that the customer data, and then the other is thing is it's a money altogether.
Correct.
What settlement, reconciliation, dispute, the EMI. In our case, it was the EDI, because daily things are debited from the merchant account. So these are the things which is, again, no need to say it is critical. So these kind of information that we have learned, we always connect with us seniors, and we do have calls with the RBI team as well, which
Hmm.
we used to send reports to a few to our banks as well. So these kind of, so we have a sort of detailed documentation where there are more than thousands of KPIs are there, that we have to make sure that these KPIs are only accessible by the relevant team or the relevant people, those who are working, or those who are working with the bank, or those who are working with our payment team.
Hmm.
Because payment is one thing that is, lending is also, but yes, payment is one thing that we have to do the data governance. I mean, at to the next level. So
Hmm.
encryption is one thing, masking is one thing, encryption to the account, to the amount, to the customers' data. These kind of things that we have done while making our data warehouses, making our dashboard things. Masking in terms of when it is because I mean, data have to flow from one team to different team. I mean, there is a very limited scope, because if you're not sharing your data to different team, then your business pipeline is broken,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Then we have to use the masking, and then only the mask data is shared with the to the and customers team, and then they will start connecting with the different customer at the end. Even if the customer is calling to your customer team support, then their numbers are masked. So these kind of things we have to implement it early in the days,
Hmm.
and this is the very important one, would I say.
Thank you. All right, Sanjeev. I think that was a good, very high level understanding of the overall landscape of a data engineering solution, which kind of touches upon a lot of different. Because I see why I mentioned that data engineering is a abstract role, because you kind of get stretched into multiple directions.
Correct, correct,
You may be as a, like you would be expected to take care of compliance, you would be expected to take care of privacy
correct.
and security and everything.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that might not be your core role,
Correct,
right?
correct.
So if I try to walk the path of
Hmm.
a startup which is early in their stage, and maybe they have a transactional system, right? And they have a simple SQL server which they have used. So from that point to the point of when you are at the peak of BharatPe scale problems, how do you see this tech stack evolving? What are the different kind of technologies you have seen evolving? What has worked uh, in each of these different phases?
Correct, correct. So I think very interesting questions again, and especially for the startups, because startups start their journey from uh, you know, at the root level, when they have a limited resources in terms of everything, sort of in terms of money, in terms of the resources, the tech resources, and even at the business side, it's the business resources, because and everyone is quite evolved and busy at their own building their own system. So that is also one thing, definitely.
And we are not able to pay the best engineers also. We may have to compromise a bit.
It's also correct, correct. And it's our responsibility, definitely, as an engineer. If someone is an engineer, it's even our responsibility to make the business team free from the from the engineering stuff, and so
Right.
that they can best do their work and evolve and think their business. Because as an engineer, we cannot think what's going. We can think, but not at that level. What we can daily we can mold out, how to mold out the business or run
Right.
different. So this is our responsibility to make free from the things. So evaluation is a kind of in a startup. The start is like the data is so small.
Mm.
Running in the MySQL, or maybe few startups also use MongoDB at the initial stage as well. So I think at the initial level, you don't need any sort of big sort of data warehouse or data lake. At that level, MySQL is sufficient enough to generate your reports on the daily basis. Even in the Gensol EV, we have a small project, or you can say product, is running parallelly in the group of company as well. And for that purpose, we are so my team is only working on I'm only working on that particular thing, but we haven't set up any data warehouse or any data lake for that particular system, because the system is so small or too early to do implement all this stuff. So
Mm.
at time, what you can implement is simple as MySQL, or a
Mm.
similar sort of yeah, replica of the MySQL, definitely. Because at the same time, as an engineer, you don't want to put your production database in a critical situation. So don't query your production database. Instead of
Mm.
querying the production database, make a replica of your MySQL, where you are syncing your every sort of real-time data from MySQL to that particular MySQL. And along this, if even if running either MongoDB or some Kafka streaming or any other data is coming to the picture, ingest that data also in the MySQL.
Mm.
So at the final stage, if your system is so small, if your startup is so small, then the architect, then you are at the final stage, your architecture is same. Your
Mm.
small pipeline, but the database is MySQL. Then again, MongoDB pipeline, but your database is MySQL. Kafka pipeline, but your data is MySQL. So
Mm.
so your team is also learning how to build a pipeline, or setting up your DMS, or setting up your CDC architecture, either with open source. Again,
Mm.
it's the skill set of your team as well. It's
Mm.
the time of your team as well, when it's case of build versus buy wala part, because this is
Mm.
all different debating, question. Either we have to build or we have to buy. So in data engineering case, if it is, you have to build your own CDC pipeline, or you have to do the inbuilt wala part, which is DMS, AWS system. So if your team is well skilled in that particular thing and they have time, then only jump on built wala part. But if you have a limited resources, if you have only 3 4 guys who have to take care of the responsibility of data engineering as well, analytics as
Mm.
well,
Mm.
and science as, don't go for build part. That just use some inbuilt services. In our case, we are using AWS DMS, or some there are other solution in the market, and then build and then ingest into the MySQL.
Mm.
So doing all this stuff, you are saving lots of cost for the company.
Mm. Mm.
But at the same time, you have to prepare for your future as well.
Mm.
engineer, you can, I mean, as an engineer, the ethics is like you're not planning to do the repetitive work.
Right.
You are building the architecture in a such a way that if your team has written 10 or build a 10 dashboard, then after a year, no one from your team going to work on the same dashboard again,
Correct.
same query again, or the same pipeline again. So
Correct.
while having these kind of pipeline, when where you have a DMS bringing the data from maybe MongoDB or maybe from MySQL to the different MySQL, tomorrow the same system can easily attach to the latest data warehouses, which is nothing as like Snowflake and BigQuery.
Correct.
Queries are similar to the BigQuery's query. MySQL queries are similar to the Snowflake queries.
Yeah.
Uh, More or less it's the Redshift also. So queries and dashboards will be similar even after a year or two when your business growth or the systems evolve to the next level.
Hmm.
And then the same maybe DMS can also run for the next couple of years as well. It's just a matter of cost, and then that is why I said if you have skilled people and along with the skill set, if they have time, because generally how it is work, as I said, in a startup there may be chances that there are team, but the team involves in their own responsibility.
Hmm.
Seen, let's say because let's say there are limited engineers, the backend engineer, the front end, the mobile engineers, and then there are very few DevOps engineers are there, right? Hardly in a startup there are. I have seen the culture, how the Indian startups are evolving. There are hardly three or four or max to max five DevOps in the system, and maybe hardly one or two DBAs. If I talk,
Hmm.
Series B to Series C startups, then these kind of things. Uh, the DevOps are and the DBAs are evolved in the backend system.
Hmm.
They involve in the mobile system, then they evolve in the other system, setting up the Jenkins, managing the cloud infra. Then and as a data engineer, when you came into the picture, it's very difficult to get their time.
Hmm.
Because as per them, their main responsibility is to building or supporting the backend systems, which
Hmm.
is the correct thing as well.
Hmm.
Because the APIs goes down, then the app is goes down, and then the whole business, goes down. So
Right.
as a data engineer, you have to think in a way that there will be less involvement of DevOps team as well.
Hmm.
When I say less involvement, there is a zero involvement of DevOps team,
Hmm.
and then there is zero involvement of the DBA as well.
Hmm.
Only involvement you can expect, because see, you are building this system for next 2 years. It's nothing like I mean, you have built for 4 months or 5 months, and
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
I think the same architecture is going to be live at least for 2, 3, or 4 or 5 years, right? Then the expectation is very clear. Then there is only requirement I needed from DevOps is access from the cloud infra things, and the only involvement I need from DBA is to access from the databases. Then there is the whole responsibility of data engineers only.
Hmm.
How my house is going to work, how my data pipeline is going to work. If I am a data engineer and building some sort of APIs as well, which is data APIs, then again it's our responsibility how we are flowing or architecturing the whole data APIs, which is going to feed the data to the app in
Hmm.
maybe API, cluster API, personalization API, event API. And then the same is the messaging system as well, because what I have seen, because lots of startups now, the whole India is digitalized and social media is going to the next level hype.
Yep.
Then every next startup is doing WhatsApp notification, in-apps notification, managing the customer journey, which was quite lesser earlier, which is it's too boom nowadays as well. So then again, these huge data is difficult to manage by the backend engineers until and
Hmm.
unless definitely it's easier. And so then again, data engineers come into the picture to build whole data digital, you can say digital pipeline platform, where
Hmm.
it's so good for the company. If someone as a data guy is managing the digital platform, the reason behind, then they can marry their digital data with their customer data, with their transactions data, with their existing company's data.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the whole system is, this is how the evolve. So start with simple MySQL and small pipeline.
Hmm.
Again, you have to set up that these teams are only give us these kind of support. It's our responsibility. Then when this expectation is clear, then you have to choose tools and technologies very, I mean, clearly. Uh,
Hmm.
and then build in a system in a such a way, thinking after 2 years or 3 years, because I have only 4 people, I have only 4 or 5 member in my team. I don't want to hire more and more people. I mean, definitely, the way things are involved, and we are always saying that AI is cutting the job or Gen AI is cutting the job, then why to hire more and more people in your team
Hmm.
when the technology is in the place?
Correct.
These kind of if someone has an experienced guy, and definitely when I say I have 10 years of experience, a decade experience I have, that these kind of architecture you have to build from the day one.
Hmm. 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 And in this one, when we say that the if we talk about the composition of your data team, right? So you have a data team. You say that you have say 4 5 members, right? Who would be some? What would be some of the essential non-negotiable skills which you would like your team to bring to the table from day one? And which are the skills you see that okay that would require some sort of mentorship or guidance to evolve? So what are some of these roles? If you could touch upon that a bit.
For data in for I would say this is again maybe my personal view, but what I used to check while hiring, and what I used to suggest to my someone, if someone is going to ask me, as I like mentor also in few other places. So few skills are these Python and SQL queries.
Hmm.
So person in data team, either data analyst or science or engineer, definitely in the, if again, then there is a plus minus quite few things. So if so two things are very clear. One is Python coding skill. uh,
Hmm.
Person should be good into coding, solving problem. When I'm saying coding, then the person should understand the depth of the conceptual understanding, not only the top level of, because few are student, or there are candidates are in the market that they have learned or do some sort of top, I mean, at the very top level of understanding of the Python. But that's not the only the requirement. The requirement is to understand the conceptual understanding of coding skill, which
Hmm.
is Python, so that they can understand where we can use hash map, which is again a dictionary, where they can use the list where it is required. Because as a data engineer, you have to play thousands of crores of or millions of data records at the same time.
Hmm.
If you are not able to handle these kind of threading or concurrency, then you are ending up burning lots of money for the company,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
data is huge. I mean,
Right.
definitely, uh, with the help of cloud vendors like AWS, Google, and Azure, luckily the storage problem is solved in terms of cost.
Hmm.
Are saying
True.
we view the the storage, cheap storage sort of things, S3 or GCS or block. But when it's come to churning of the data, playing
True.
with the data, expensive. Compute of the data, it's expensive, right?
Hmm.
uh, we have seen in the GPT as well.
Right.
I mean, one thing is, you can use the chat GPT or sort of things, or Gemini sort of things, but while tuning or training the whole data, building your base LLM is a too difficult, because it's a playing
Yeah.
of. So if you don't have a good data engineer in your system, then definitely, I mean, the base problem that data engineer can solve, but the moment your company will grown up to the next level and data is huge, you are just burning money to your system, nothing else. Because that if that person is not able to do multi-threading, concurrency, the nuances of the coding skill set, Then again, then he started playing with different fancy technologies like Spark or blah blah blah. Then it's just a matter of cost, nothing else. The
Right.
first is Python coding conceptual understanding. The second one is SQL queries.
Hmm.
When it says SQL queries, because again the same conceptual understanding in the SQL queries as well, so that candidate have to understand the nuances of the SQL queries, where I have to group by, where I have to use having, where I have to use not only these kind of basic technologies, but the understanding depth of databases as well,
Hmm.
because the concept of indexing is same conceptual understanding, but in MySQL it is different, in MongoDB it is different, partition in BigQuery is different, in MySQL it is different,
Right.
sharding MongoDB is different than in data warehousing. It's a different. Then the nuances of these things, if both match is completed, then your data team is ready, either it is data engineering, analytics, or science. Then it's come to little bit plus minus. If you are hiring data engineer, you can consider his coding skill is much higher than the SQL skill. If you are hiring
Hmm.
data, then you can consider maybe SQL queries is upper
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
Python, and if it is you are hiring as data scientist, then both should be,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Uh,
that was a very nice way, because it's not that it's like every person have a sort of an analyst skill and an engineering skill and maybe a science skill. Because any newbie who comes in, new person comes in would say, I have done a lot of data science. I mean, always there have been a lot of what do you say, glamour attached to the data scientist role. I think because of the word scientist there. So, but everybody would like, okay, writing SQL, writing Python. And when you think about SQL, a more of an analyst mindset, more of a business analyst mindset who can understand metrics, who can relate it to business, right?
agree.
And the engineer, the other side, and that's why I say like some of I've also seen software engineers. For example, your role has been that from a software engineer background, you enter into data engineering. I had a more of an analyst background, analyst, data warehousing, BI, right? Visualization. That was my background, and that's why like I think our interaction for a Tableau program was also related to that only. So so here now, if I try to bring into picture that you were talking about hiring. Now you have a free 24/7 helper friend, right, whom you can interact with, and if you already know your stuff, it makes you 10x, 20x, 50x more productive. How do you see the role of a data engineer evolving? Where is this Gen AI fitting in? One, uh, is it helping in improving their way of working, workflows, productivity? And second, building innovative applications.
Correct. So very interesting thing, and luckily I got to understand, because see, I always found using new technologies, and then definitely though it's not about using new technology. It's because there are hell number of technologies in the market, right?
Hmm.
There so the word is again came into the picture. You have to choose right technologies at the right place,
True.
because there are n number of technologies. So the same thing, Gen AI is a buzzword. Then when we started working on the Gen AI part, it's I think maybe Jan or Fab, early 2024. And the when we started, then a few of my interns are doing POC on that particular thing. And we just have to, in our mind, we just have to create some sort of visualization bot uh,
Hmm.
in the Gensol EV, because what I have faced in my previous experience, my team is building lots of dashboard, 50 to 20 60 dashboard, but still the data analytics team came to us, or business analytics team came to us, ki, hey, please give me this and that report. Hey, please give me this report to this report verification or understanding. So this will also, because we have a clear roadmap for the next 6 months, and then deeper down we have a clear roadmap for the next week as well. We have a clear
Hmm.
road month as well. But if someone is came to us and then asking this and that ad hoc report, it will again, the whole mindset or the target is, turn around, and then the target that you want to complete in a month or 6 months, it will, disturbed. So the target, so when we started building GenAI, then we think like build a visualization bot. And the first problem that we have faced is not implementing GenAI, but the data problem.
Hmm.
And we have started, and then I started talking to few of my industry friends, going to few seminars and then conferences. What I got to understand that definitely people are talking about AI, data science, and then the GenAI as well. But the major problem are still the data problem. And when it's come to data problem, the problem is that their data is not at a single place.
Hmm.
At the base level, most of the industry companies, at the base level, that their data is scattered here and there, and then they want to build the GenAI, because so GenAI is not a, is not a god that make every sort of things in a few fraction of second.
Right.
GenAI, GenAI is just a baby sort of system, right?
Hmm.
It's And you have to feed your that GenAI baby in a such a way that after a month or a year, it will then it's become mature, and then that particular GenAI baby can start giving you response, and then solve your some business use cases or some problem that you have feed it to that particular GenAI.
Hmm.
It's same as baby, because if you have feeded that particular baby in a Hindi language, then the baby will respond in a Hindi. But you
Hmm.
have feeded that baby in a CBSE language or ICSE in language, and then started that 2 year or so child started speaking in a next level of English, right? So
Hmm.
the same concept is Gen AI, but if your feed is wrong, if your upbringing,
Hmm.
so this is how we have to, bring back at the root level and understand the nuances, that that baby is not wrong. The
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
to talk in our daily, that the baby is not wrong, the upbringing is wrong.
Right.
This
Right.
is in the Gen AI case,
Hmm.
because nothing but a sort of, it's a model now. And Chat GPT, Gemini, LAM, these kind of systems solve this problem to a next level, that any sort of your good engineer or good hands-on engineer can implement and start building some sort of solution. But what if your the data that you are feeding is not correct? The
Hmm.
expectation is different, because the expectation is that my baby can play the guitar as well, do swimming as well, do dancing as well, and then become IPS officer as well, which
Hmm.
is right.
Hmm. Correct.
If you want that my baby will be a good guitar player, then feed only guitar sort of classes. So
Hmm.
the same thing that we have started, and then we found that the data what we are planning to feed our GenAI model is not correct. Then we again set back and start massaging the data, bringing or building a few data pipeline, bring all the data in a single source of system. Then we connect to our business team or some founders office team, that what kind of KPI that you are looking for. Is this the KPI, and your KPI meanings are same? What you're looking as per your business word, is that the column description is same or not? So
Hmm.
these kind of things, because these are the problem that rarely talked or rarely discussed in the company, right?
Hmm.
Because people directly jump on the technical solution, people directly jump on the buying some vendor or integrating some vendor, because it's quite easy. I mean,
Hmm.
it's a matter of few discussion, and when you have closed your vendor, it's just a matter of some few of definitely money. But the nuances is, let's discuss when you are looking for this particular data, when you're looking for this particular KPI, is this the something meaning correct, or and if this something meaning, this the data is feeding in our database or not? Because
Hmm.
most of the time what you are asking is not fed in my data.
Hmm.
I was just under one discussion, and one of my marketing guy asked that I want inorganic and organic data so that I can chase to my customer or generate a report for my customer, and then
Hmm.
talk to my product team, and then the product team asked that, hey, we are not storing that particular data.
Hmm.
So is what you're looking, we are not storing. And if we are storing, then there is in case of data engineer, when a data engineer can again come into the picture, maybe understand the business need, connect with the right people in the product and the engineering team, then store and collect the data. That is again the data collection, what we multiple times we have read in our books, and we used to again in multiple blocks. So the data collection strategy come into the picture, and then feed the data in a single place. Then that GenAI model come into the picture and trained on that particular feeded data and massage data, which is driven by the business people or the
Hmm.
marketing people, and then the product people, and again matured by the engineer people. Then definitely, then the story of GenAI will start evolve. And then again, then RAG, Llama,
Hmm.
Lang, then the training, vector DB, these kind of things. And people used to ask majorly that the GenAI also uh, is a data discrepancy issue or the data governance part. Data engineer can easily solve this problem as well, because they are the one who feeding the data. So
Hmm.
data is compliance issue, then they are not, then they stop at that level only, right?
Hmm.
So these kind of things, I feel that the definitely GenAI is one part, but feeding the right data is also the next part, which is difficult without the data, good data guy.
Hmm. 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 Interesting. And at the same time, no technology is free, although it is promoted as free. So there are millions being burnt, and if you're building an application, it's only about time that you start paying for that technology. So cost always chases you as you are growing. So to build a realistic, feasible Gen AI application that works, right? How
Hmm.
much it cost is the prohibition, or what are some of the tactics which you employed to build something still managing the costs well?
Correct. So I think that is also the questions was running in our mind when we started early in the 2024, because we are also under impression, because we are doing multiple stuff apart from the GenAI, because the core business is to build our Gensol EV, the pipeline, the cloud pipeline, and then the backend as well. So we are lots of things that we are doing in the Gensol EV, which is more interesting. Apart from that, we have started working on the GenAI part. So we were into impression that what if we rein in these kind of situation. So I think the GenAI's architecture in a built in a such a beautiful way that there is no worry about, if again, if it is a well architect and well planned, then the architecture is built in a such a way then that there is no worry about if there are multiple hits is coming into the picture, and definitely when it's come to solving the business problem.
Right.
So apart from the GenAI, there is a database called vector database, which is quite famous in the market as well.
Yeah.
That vector database is play a role. It's a mediator role, which again solving most of the data science problem as well, and then the mediator problem as well. So when I'm saying mediator is a kind of, you can say, in terms of API. When we are building API, when backend team used to build the API, they used to implement Redis kind of caching system.
Hmm.
Dish do if so it's manage the state of the users, but again, other than that, it's store the frequent data that is requested by the API.
Hmm.
Similar concept, there is a in the GenAI architecture, vector DB used to do.
Hmm.
So if in our case, so we are building a visualization bot where people used to ask different queries while writing normal English language, and it will convert into the SQL queries and then generate the visualization bot, either bar chart, graph chart, or some pie chart and these kind of things. We are also built some sort of basic data science model, which is a sentiment analysis, location tagging, and all these things. So if people asking same and same questions again and again, it will not hit directly to the GenAI thing system. It will first reach the vector DB and
Hmm.
and searched the similar question. Is it there in the vector DB or not? If it is in the vector DB, then it will goes to that particular question's answer. It will return the answer at the same at the moment it will get the answer back to the back to the UI system, which is again in our case it's a similar kind of UI chat GPT type of UI that we have built. So it will back to the UI and it will showcase to the users as well.
Right.
Also, I mentioned the way you blueprint or the architect your system, it also uh, matters in the cost management. So we have also created the feedback system.
Right.
Uh, in the way we have in the chat GPT. So that also is stored in the vector DB. So if you get the answer which is logically correct as per your understanding and you are the business head or leader, then if you are like this particular question answer, then again it will store in the same vector DB.
Yeah.
Again and again, whenever the new questions comes to the goes to the vector DB, it will check the answer and it will check the feedback as well.
Hmm. So it is kind of self-sustaining
Correct.
system, which is kind of evolving based on the feedback from the
Feedback from
user.
as well.
Hmm.
So if in the other cases, if the vector DB able to find the question, able to find the answer, but the feedback is dislike, then it will check for the other sort of answer. And if there is no answer, then it will goes to the GenAI model. Then only that particular hit will hit the GenAI model, and then only it will cost to my system.
Hmm.
Otherwise the vector DB is handling this the multiple or you can say the repetitive sort of questions and the hits that we are getting. So these kind of some nuances and the architecture that a person can build while working on the GenAI architecture. And then there are other cases as well in the LangChain. There are lots of caching mechanisms. It's a whole framework.
Hmm.
Uh, there is a APM sort of same tool as well. So APM is a application monitoring tool where
Hmm.
monitor your API. Then there is same APM in the GenAI framework there is available where you can track your each and every hit and track the cost management as well. So these kind of
Hmm.
things that you can prevent and monitor while if you are concerned about my costing is growing or not in the GenAI part.
Interesting, interesting. So I think, I mean, this gave me an idea that right now in all programs that we run at Encurious, we use Slack as our platform for having conversation and having Q&A with the learners. So I think so. Then you're suggesting that I should start storing the Slack conversations to make it Gen AI compliant in terms of the data preparation stage.
Uh, Easier because if your questions are similar,
Yeah.
then answer can you don't need to ask. So this is a 24 cross 7 data analytics part. Uh,
Hmm.
we are looking forward in our system. So we
Right.
have implemented this visualization board where we for a place where we don't have any data analyst. So
Hmm.
now, luckily, this visualization bot is solving that particular problem. We are enhancing more and more. But yes, answer to your question is yes. I mean, we can do, and maybe more systems are doing the same stuff.
Right. 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 Amazing, amazing. Thank you. Thanks a lot, Sanjeev. I mean, you found time on a Sunday to have this candid conversation. I feel that data engineers are yet to launch on a very exciting career path, and it is an ever evolving thing. And with Gen AI, I think it's going to add more and more. I think role on data engineers' shoulders, I believe.
Definitely, definitely. As I mentioned, because see, still it's 10 year for my experience, and still whenever I talk to someone, a senior guy, majorly, and when I sit with them, I found most of the 75% cases they haven't solved the data problem, and they
Yeah.
have on the data science problem, and then the Gen AI also come into the picture. So if data problem is solved, if your data in a single place, again, as I said, 50-60% problem is solved then and there.
Right.
The business is also, because as a leader, your system is so huge, but as a leader, you don't know what data I have.
Right.
I mean, if you don't know what data you have, you cannot take any decision, right?
True. True.
You know 20% of your data, and you're checking daily basis only 20% of data. Then only
Right.
you're just using your 20% data and taking the business decision. What if you are started churning your 80-90% of your data?
Correct.
Then only the data engineer is the guy, the good data engineer is the guy who can bring up this sort of the across in your organization, the universe data in front of you. And
Right.
then definitely, but I have seen the both way involved, because this story also start from the leadership level as well. Because
Hmm.
at the leader also, you have to, more curious on the data part.
Hmm.
Because what if the data engineer is doing all the stuff and not used at the end? That is also one other story.
Right, right, right. No, thanks, Sanjeev. Thanks a lot for your time. I think it was a very engaging and an enjoyable discussion. I can go hours and hours going deep dive into many different topics, but that would be for some other day. Thanks for your time. It was a very great discussion with you. Thanks for your time, Sanjeev. Take care.
Thanks. Thanks. Take
Bye
care.
bye.